as a kid. He didn't like anything organized, and he didn't want to be told what he had to do.
Rob was a performer, willing to throw caution to the wind.
ECW was a little on the crazy side, and that's his style.
All of a sudden, I was a superstar. There's a lot of things when I look back at my career that I would do differently now, but I don't live with regret. This was my journey.
The ECW fans, he was our Bruno Sammartino. He was our Hulk Hogan.
Everything's cool when you're Rob. I did everything my way, and I ended up at the very top.
A trendsetter, a game changer, and now we can say WWE Hall of Famer. These are all things we can use to describe Rob Van Dam. I am Matt Camp, and this is Icons Revisited RVD. Matt Camp and Ryan Pappolla here because it's time for another edition of Icons Revisited. And Ryan, this might be one of the most in-depth, it is the most in-depth documentary I've ever seen on RVD.
Yeah.
And I say that in the best way possible.
No, absolutely. I felt like, coming in that I knew a lot about RVD, right? But I learned so much. And then there were just so many things, Matty, that hit me. Like, I knew for example, I knew RVD loved DCW, but man, I really felt like I understood that love by the end of this documentary. And there's just so many things across the board that I'm looking forward to getting into.
As someone who was always a big-time RVD fan, someone I felt like was the one I discovered him outside of WWE. That was the first guy I said, oh, who's that? I have to go watch him. And he touched so many superstars and fans alike, including our first guest. Someone he had a huge influence on, our wrestling fandom, and this guest right here. You see him on Monday Night Raw, and just a little while ago, we had an impromptu meeting between RVD and our guest on WWE's The Bump. Please welcome Riddle.
Yes!
What up?
What up, bro?
Am I on?
You're here, bro. Good to have you, man. This is fantastic, as we're going to be talking RVD from Icons. Great documentary. Now, I want to bring this up to you. We were just talking about our fandom. When did RVD come on your radar as a fan, and what stuck out to the most about you? Was it his in-ring? Was it what he did on the mic? Was it his attire? What are your earliest thoughts of RVD?
For me, I lived in New York, but I had family that lived in Pennsylvania, so I'd drive back and forth and visit them. And ECW was in Pennsylvania. They were filming in Philadelphia a lot. And the only time I really got to see it was on basic cable in Pennsylvania. So that was my first introduction to him. And what really stood out to me was his cool, calm demeanor, being cool and chill with all the fans, all the bros, but then also that in-ring style, just turning it up, like he flips a switch and he's all cool and happy, but he'll kick your head off and throw chairs into your face and do everything. And the guy, like, he put a smile on my face, but I also knew he was a legit contender, and that's, like, honestly, I do get a lot of inspiration from him because I feel like I'm pretty cool and calm, and I like to bro it up and walk around with the fans. But at the same time, once that bell rings, it's like I'm there to smash you in and win my match,
Absolutely. And, bro, actually, I want to follow up on that because, there's the similarities, and it was so great when we saw you guys together on The Bump. But how much do you feel like you relate to RVD in terms of when doing things your own way, whether that be as a superstar or even as a person?
Well, honestly, I think when you grow up and you do what me and Rob do when you're in martial arts or wrestling or combat sports and you have a demeanor like us, people don't take you serious. They literally think you're a joke and you really don't want to be there. You're not trying to be a champion. They just think you're just going through the motions. And as you can see with Rob Van Dam doing splits with hundreds of pounds of weight and kicking people's heads, probably one of the greatest performers ever without any serious knee injuries or anything like that. If you think about it, always consistent, always putting his body on the line and always stealing the show. It's like, I don't know. It's just, Rob Van Dam's something special, and I don't think he's one of a kind, you know?
No doubt about it. Not just the lyric in the theme song. Now, Riddle, we talked about
Good song.
that's right.
Good
It's a good.
song.
Oh, it's a good one. It's one of the best.
Can you get that on Spotify?
Probably.
We'll
I
make
think
some calls.
We'll make some calls. It's probably out there. Guys in the
Right.
Hall of Fame now. I would think it makes sense. You talked about just that philosophy of RVD, but in terms of in-ring style, I don't know if it's a specific move or just how you conduct yourself in the ring, but did you ever take anything from RVD?
Yeah, he does some pretty sweet moves. Like I do the floating bro.
Right.
He did the Mr. Monday Night. You do the split. So I feel like the floating bro is my version of like his, little backflip move. I think he used to call him Mr. Monday Night. When he was doing the feud with ECW and Raw. So, so I take something like that. Like he did Rolling Thunder. I'm a little more aggressive, so I might kick you in the chest and then hit you with a senton. But like that's Brawling Thunder right there. We could throw that in. Maybe if we ever did tag your team or ever interact, I'd probably have to hit Brawling Thunder. I'd have to probably hit his moves.
It's got to happen now.
I had to say right now though, his frog splash is light years ahead of mine. Like light years. He is so good at his frog slash. It's insane.
I can't get over Brawling Thunder, man. I love that.
It's just the beginning, bro.
Riddle, you've been in the WWE universe, the WWE sphere for a few years now, and like you've been in NXT locker room, SmackDown, Raw, the whole gamut. Do you feel like RVD is one of those guys, especially for your generation, this generation, that not just inspired you, but really has inspired the locker room at large?
Yeah, I think he inspires a lot of people, and at the same, I feel like guys like Rob have no idea what they've done because they're living in the moment. They do their thing, kind of like me. I sometimes I don't realize what I've accomplished until now. Like you said, you've been here for a couple of years, all these, and Rob, the amount of success he had with his demeanor, it gives somebody like me hope. It gives other promoters and producers and everybody else hope in me and other people like me that might not be on the mic. Like, I'm coming after you. I can't believe what you said about my mom. Oh. Well, me, I'd be like, what did you say about, dude, I'm going to knock you out, bro. Like,
Yeah.
I can't say that. Like, because in real life, that's just how I am. And in real life, people are like that, So I just like how Rob made cool, chill bros seem legit, And because of him and his style and everything, guys like me can now have, a platform.
So, you talked about that and it gets discussed in the documentary. That demeanor is not so in your face, but it doesn't take away the passion. And I think those comparisons have been made to you as well. Do you think you sit here with us today or appear on Monday Night Raw without someone like RVD paving the way?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say because you never know. Because I had the UFC background and everything else, so I could have just been perceived seriously,
right,
or whatever. But I think in what we do in sports entertainment, if it wouldn't have been Rob, somebody would have came forward. And I do think there are other people like Rob, just like there's other people like me now, but nobody can do it like me at my level, my consistency in that. And just like Rob, we can go back and watch tape, bro. Rob never disappoints. Flying over the top rope, over the guardrail. And I'm not talking about on padded floors or anything, like concrete into the fans. He did it so good. He was so intense. You had to take him seriously. All of his moves, everything he did. And he'd always give it 100%. Dude, he'd be so cool, but he would have blood dripping from his face. He'll be lumped up, bruised. His opponent would be like limping out of the arena. And it's like, and I'll be honest, that's the kind of pro wrestling I like. That's what I do, That's why people like me and people in the office like me, because I bring it. And that's why people like Rob, because he always brought it.
Yep,
and he brings something different to the table. Everybody is so serious, and it's nice. Like, people can complain, oh, what a goof, but it's so nice when you're watching a show about men fighting each other and women fighting each other all the time, when somebody's not just so serious. Yeah. And Rob was that then, and he's paved the way for people like me and others now.
For sure. And bro, it's a total change of pace, which is what I think you're hitting on. But when you talk about him bringing it, Camp and I have been talking about this all week, just our favorite RVD matches and our favorite RVD moments, and I'm sure you have a ton. So probably a tough question, but does a match or a moment of RVD's immediately spring to mind as your favorite?
Well, I wouldn't say I can't pick one match because I've had a bunch of them, but my favorite feud RVD would have to be with Jerry Lynn
Yes,
and
sir.
Yes, sir.
ECW. The amount of matches, that poetry, the standoffs and everything, the pace, the intensity, the athleticism. Right. But I would say RVD's biggest moment has to be RVD versus John Cena in the ECW arena, and the crowd is just eating John Cena
Yes.
alive.
Yeah.
And John Cena's playing the part perfect. And then like he keeps throwing his shirt in the crowd, they keep throwing it back, and then he throws it, and like the security guard gets it, this huge security guard, and the security guard throws it, flips him off, and it's like, and like the crowd's going crazy, and I'm just like, bro, it's just another level. And it's crazy because you see the intensity, the anger, the heat in that crowd and how crazy they were. And they're rooting for the most chill, laid back dude that can kick your head off for real because he's RVD and he's the man. And these people have seen him do everything.
Yeah.
And they know what he's capable of, you know? So is John Cena, but he's a WWE guy.
Right.
It wasn't, but so that has to be my favorite RVD moment, and he won the championship, you know? So it wasn't just like, oh, sweet moment. He also capitalized on that moment. So favorite moment, but favorite feud has to be, you know,
Those
the
are great
Jerry Lynn.
answers.
They just, they were too good together.
I'm with you. And those are my two favorite things. That's my favorite feud with him, all the matches he had with Jerry Lynn. And then from a moment, I think it's perfect professional wrestling is the crowd being there, not liking Cena.
Some of its parts.
It's
Goose, look at the, I don't know, I got
Always say,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're visible.
Good, dude, look at the hair.
it's
I'm a fan, bro.
That's-
I'm a fan.
So am I. I'm with you.
know what I'm saying?
Well, speaking of that, we mentioned it earlier. You got to meet RVD on WWE's The Bump last month during WrestleMania. The clip went viral. I think we all expected that to be the case. What was that experience for you? You're already going into your first WrestleMania, but then you meet RVD. What was all that like for you?
Honestly, it was a dream come true. You know, in my life, I've wanted to do a couple things, you know, as a kid. You know, fight in the UFC, wrestle at WWE, and wrestle at WrestleMania on the grandest stage of them all. And honestly, on that list, it was also like hang out, meet RVD, chill with him. And since I've been a professional wrestler, I've really wanted to collab with him. I've wanted to collab with a lot of people, but really with RVD because I feel like he was a pioneer for, you know, my kind of people.
Sure.
And I feel like I'm a modern day pioneer. Now that it's like, you know, basically whatever though. But you know, like, so we had that bond and people know, the fans know, and like we had that bond with them. So for us all to like, for me to have that moment on the bump and then to even, because he got such a great reaction because it wasn't in this, you know, earlier, and then to get to work with him and Khali later live at WrestleMania, to hear that crowd pop from the back, and it's just like, dude, and they let us get away with some shenanigans. I mean, he gave me some rolling papers and everything. And I was like, oh man, and Great Khali got some. He's wild. So it was just it was awesome. It was like I said, one of the greatest moments of my life. And I know that sounds corny or whatever, but I was
No.
like, dude, when you have goals and certain aspirations, you're like, oh man, could you imagine this, that?
Yeah.
And it's like, this is one thing I've like fantasized about. Like, hey, how cool would it be to be at like WrestleMania and like do a promo with RVD or anything with him, and like just the crowd goes crazy. And it did happen.
And it did.
It's like, whoa. It's like tagging with Randy Orton. It's like I've wanted this to happen. I remember playing the video game with him. I'm like, I hear voices in my head, you know? And then now, straight up, me and Randy, I mean, he doesn't really talk to me much, but me and Randy were tagging. I'm talking about getting snakeskin Speedos with little Viper printed on them, and he's kind of down with it. And I'm like, this could be a thing. I'm probably going to get a vest. I'm going to get a Viper vest, bro. You know, I'm going to do the Apex Predator. or something. I don't know.
I feel like RVD could get involved in this, man. I don't know. Maybe it could happen.
Dude, I mean, I'm starting to think WWE needs to get one of those 6-man tag titles. You know how they do that? And I mean,
let's get to work.
I'm not against it. Also, I was thinking, I'm a little younger than Randy, just a little, and he's kind of taking me under his, I don't know what snakes call it. It's not a wing.
Under his scales.
Whatever. But I'm thinking, could you imagine if Randy took a couple more people under his wings, guide us, and we were kind of like the new Evolution 2.0?
Whoa.
And
I mean, I don't want to plant. I know I plant seeds sometimes, but I'm just saying.
Bro, it's out in the universe.
I got an idea. Evbrolution. It's right there for you.
Kind of rhymes.
And I wouldn't be upset if Randy came in to do some lessons with us. Give us some tutorings, because we can learn a lot from these guys.
Agreed.
100%.
They've been there. They've done that.
Yeah, there's something there. We will let it sit there, but it's out there in the universe now, and we will hope it comes back to us. But bro, we had so much fun, and so obviously you did with Rob that day on WrestleMania Sunday about talking about the potential tag team possibility, right? But I also was thinking of the other thing, you're a UFC guy and MMA guy. I think about a couple years ago when Israel Adesanya fought Anderson Silva and what that meant for Izzy. Have you ever thought about what the student-teacher dynamic would be like if you ever faced off against RVD? RVD, as he says at the end of this documentary, at the end of Icons, still wrestling, so it's not totally out of the realm of possibility. Have you ever thought about this?
Yeah, I've thought about that. I've thought about it a lot. I think the biggest question is, do I wrestle him or do I tag with him or do I do both? Because, sometimes you got to earn the respect, But I think we already respect each other. So maybe we just start off tagging and be cool and then something would happen. I don't know. It's hard to keep friendships in this competitive business. But I think me and RVD, regardless, if we faced off, I think we're so like-minded and we had the same mentality when it comes to this business and this industry that, and I think he likes me. So I think he would go hard. And yes. I know, I always go hard. So it's Rob Van Dam. I know he's going to go hard. He's not just going to let me kick him around. So it would be awesome. So, yeah, I would love to wrestle Rob Van Dam. If it could ever happen, if there's anybody out there, I mean, Vince, you're out there. But if anybody can make it happen, you should probably make it happen. It's a money move. If you advertise that, it's probably as money as me versus Goldberg, even though that's never going to happen most likely. But it's money. It prints itself. If you put me in RVD on a billboard, it's going to sell. So
be something special.
It started here today. That's what we wanted.
I think, why don't we do it next April? Maybe on the 20th? So, have a real moment. I don't know if that's a Monday or a Friday or a Wednesday.
You know what, though? It would be your day. It would be a day of bros. It would be a day of RVD and Riddle.
Maybe we do a Super Bowl kind of thing. You just do the one match.
What? That's it. Like a halftime heat, but just for this.
Yeah. And to be fair, me and Rob would probably do the match on the 19th, but we would air it on the 20th,
You're thinking ahead.
Say no more.
Just keeping it real. Yeah. Keeping it real with my people. I'm just saying, I want to have, come on.
A bro motor. That's exactly what you are. Very good. Good job. You know where the money's at. Riddle, we thank you so much for spending some time with us, talking RVD, what he means to you, and maybe what the future holds for you guys. Thank you so much.
Dude. I hope that happens. But yes, thank you for having me, bros.
Appreciate you, man.
Riddle, there you go.
Go get him, bro.
Well, we go from current day WWE to a little bit back in time, to the 90s, when Jerry Lawler had his first interactions with Rob Van Dam on Raw in the first invasion from ECW. Let's hear the King's thoughts on RVD.
Well, of course, I'm the one that dubbed him Mr. Monday Night.
He's going to be called Mr. Monday Night. I guarantee you.
When he came over from ECW, which, of course, I had dubbed extremely crappy wrestling, he was like the bright spot out of that entire ECW crew. A lot of people don't realize this, but Rob had been down in our Memphis territory a few years before that, And so I was pretty familiar with Rob and all his talents. And so I was more than happy to introduce the world to Mr. Monday Night Rob Van Dam. Throughout my entire career, I'd worked in some unusual venues, but there was nothing to prepare you for what that ECW arena was like there in Philadelphia. The passion of the fans, the whole atmosphere, it was insane. There's not many times that I could say I was really scared. There were a few times in Memphis at the Coliseum when we had a really heated situation going that I really became a little bit frightened from what might happen involving the fans. But I can promise you, it was nothing like what I felt like when I was in that ECW arena. And of course, Rob, he was kind of used to that. I mean, I always thought that Rob was red hot from the start. I sensed that he was going to be a huge star in the WWE. You know, if he was given the opportunity to shine, and he was, and he did.
You know, I had like about a dozen matches over my first year. Shows were like in Michigan, Ohio, Indiana.
So don't wait. Get in there and go to work on him right now. Oh, whoa! Looks like that could have been off a diving board into a pool. Zakowski gets the pin on Bruce Candido. Candido up very quickly. I don't think he knew what hit him.
And it was very rewarding. You know, the feedback from the crowds, it was what I wanted. When I'm down in Florida in 91 and 92, Ron Slinker's running the Tampa Sportatorium. Ron Slinker said that he thought that I looked like this actor, Jean-Claude Van Damme, who was very over. And Ron Slinker told me to tell people that I was his cousin. He wanted me to sound like I had a Belgian accent. I was just like, I'm very excited to see these people, all of you people, your love for me. You know, I just, you know, I was embarrassed and shy, and I just did my best, but it stuck.
We want to thank Jerry the King Lawler for his insight to the early years of Rob Van Dam. And speaking of that, someone who knows RVD from their time going back to ECW, and even when they worked together in WWE. We go from one WWE Hall of Famer to another. Please welcome to Icons Revisited, Devon Dudley. Yes!
Hey, Matt, I don't know why you're clapping, because you know you're not happy to see me on here.
No, I'm so thrilled to have you on here, Devon. It's an honor for me
I'm
to
thrilled,
have
Devon. I'm
this
thrilled.
half of the Dudley boys with us.
Thrilled. I know you're thrilled, but that guy sitting next to you ain't thrilled. He's mad because I don't wear the black glasses with the black tape around it. I wear the white glasses with the black tape around it. He prefers somebody that, you know, because he had a little history with him, so he brings him on the show. He does what he does, but he leaves poor Devon in the back. Oh, made all sorts of promises last time I was on the bump that he would bring me on and he'd have me on a regular, and they ain't seen not one.
First time I'm seeing you since.
Phone call.
Yeah. First time I've seen
Change your number on me, man. I'm sorry. That's what happened. Anyway, thank you for joining us.
We're happy to have you, Devon.
We're going to talk some RVD. What is your first experience with RVD? Did you know him at all? Had you heard about him before he signed with ECW?
No, I didn't. I never heard of RVD. Again, the guys that were in ECW at the time, we were the band of the misfits,
right?
As they like to say. Nobody else was hiring us. ECW was the only place that took a chance on guys like us coming in. And RVD was a hell of a talent. He was in Japan doing what he was doing. I mean, he was making a name for himself over there. And when he came to ECW, we were just all like, wow, who is this guy? And then when you watched him in the ring, seeing all the things that he was doing in there, it was like, you know, the karate, the martial arts thing, and then incorporating the wrestling with that. It was amazing.
Absolutely. And Devon, I'm so glad you said that, because, yeah, I've heard that several times, the Island of the Misfit Toys description for the ECW locker room. But it was also very competitive, and there was also obviously that brotherhood. But as everybody knows, there were so many characters, not just on screen in ECW, but also behind the scenes. So where did RVD fit in all of that? What was he like as a person in the locker room?
Oh, he was great. I mean, everybody loved working with Rob to a certain degree, because sometimes, you know, Rob would do those spin kicks, and if you wasn't watching, he'd knock your head clear off your shoulders. But for the most part, everybody really respected Rob, liked Rob, loved him. You know, he was great talent to work with. You know, that was first and foremost. He was great talent to work with, so no one ever had an issue with Rob. He always gave 110% when he was in that ring, and you always knew he was going to put on a great performance when he was in there.
D-Von, even though Rob was never the ECW champion in the original iteration of ECW, did you feel like there was a point, maybe a specific point, or just you felt it watching and being in the locker room where he became the top attraction in the company?
Well, yeah, because ECW was very different. You didn't need to have the championship belt in order to be the main guy there. Rob didn't need that. He didn't need a title. So him becoming, U.S. champion?
He was TV champ forever, for 2 years.
He still might be ECW TV champ.
Yeah, forever. And, that was good enough for him right then and there. He didn't need the heavyweight title. See, the belts are supposed to make people. And that's what the belts were always for, was to make people. It wasn't no legitimacy in that. And Rob was already a made guy. And every time he stepped in the ring, he proved that every single night. I loved working with Rob. And whenever you were in there with Rob, you knew you were going to have a good match. I'll put it to you this way. If you had a bad match with Rob, then you must have sucked. Because there was no way you could have a bad match with Rob. It's almost like Ricky Steamboat.
Yeah.
It was always said back in the day, if you couldn't have a good match with Steamboat, then you had to be horrible. And I thought that was the same thing with Rob. Rob was just that good.
Yeah. And D-Von, that versatility, you've spoken about it. So many people who have faced RVD have talked about that versatility. And I'm always a believer, as I watch as a fan, that styles make matches. Did you almost like the fact that you were a different style than RVD because it gave, a different feeling to a match with him?
Absolutely. Listen, it was no different than when you look at the Hardys, Edge and Christian, and the Dudleys.
Yeah.
We were all different. But yet, when you go back to the Attitude Era and you talk about tag teams, although the three teams were different, we made history and we were able to gel with one another and create history as we went along. Each match we did, whether it was a television, whether it was Monday Night Raw or SmackDown, whether it was a pay-per-view or even a live event, there was always memorable moments. And even though the styles were different, we were still able to entertain and do what we could to make sure that the fans were happy. And I think that's the same thing with Rob. Regardless, like I said earlier, whoever he was in the ring with, it was just magic. And Rob knew how to do it. Even though your style might have been different than Rob's, Rob would always put it together to where his style would work with yours. It was no different than the way the Dudleys were. You didn't have to be, ECW hardcore guys to wrestle the Dudleys. We adjusted to your style. That was the way we were. That was the way Paul Lee taught us. Whatever trainer taught us how to wrestle, they taught us. But then when you get to an organization like ECW and Dr. Frankenstein himself, Paul Heyman, putting everything together, he teaches you, listen, regardless, if you're a flyer or you're just a ground guy, you got to be able to work with everybody. And that was the key. And that's what we did.
Absolutely.
D-Von, Bubba talked about this in the documentary in this episode when Rob beats John Cena at One Night Stand and becomes the WWE champion, obviously becomes the ECW champion after that. He felt it was a stamp of approval for ECW as a whole, even though it's done at that point. It had come back. Did you feel that way? What were your feelings about Rob winning the title from John? Did it matter to you as someone who came from ECW as well?
I'll be honest with you, and my honest opinion, no, I didn't. Because like I said, I didn't think you needed a title in order to identify who you were in that ring. Your performance and how you entertain people, that was how you did it. And Rob did an excellent job. That was the one thing about the ECW guys. We knew whether it was 10,000 people in the audience or 30 people in the audience, we were going to entertain and go all out. And that's exactly what we did. So I think it was a huge stepping stone for Rob for doing that with Cena. But I just don't think that it didn't really mean that much to me in a sense because he won the title. Rob was just good in everything he did.
Right.
And there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So as far as I'm concerned, it was a good thing that what he did, but at the same token, I didn't think that it would make him the star that he already was.
Gotcha.
People knew Rob and people loved Rob.
It was a bright star already.
And in your mind, he was already at that level. The title was just the icing on the cake. Yeah.
And see, that was the one thing we always said too. We might not have been in WWE, but when we went on that pay-per-view, Barely Legal, we all went in there with the mind frame that we are superstars, regardless if we're WCW or WWE or not. We're going to show the world exactly why we're here and we're on this pay-per-view. And everybody that night at Barely Legal turned it up.
Absolutely. And D-Von, we appreciate your insight and there's so many cool stories already. Before we let you go, and RVD, you know, he talks about at the end of this documentary, he's still wrestling, he's still working, but when and if he ever decides to hang it up for good, from your perspective, as someone who spent so much time with him, in the trenches with him, in 2 different companies, what do you think RVD's lasting legacy in the sports entertainment industry will be?
A hell of a worker, can turn it on at the drop of a dime, and a pleasure in and out of the ring. He truly was. He was a very good friend. And the one thing I like about Rob, he was a no-nonsense guy. If he didn't like something, he would tell you right off the bat. And he would dare you to disagree with him in terms of want to argue with him because he just kicked your head off your shoulders. That's just the way Rob was. But there was some, you know, even though we were a family and we were good and we were tight, we still was at the point where we beat the hell out of each other, but don't let nobody else come in ECW and try that. Because if they did, they would get their ass tore up from the floor. That was just the way it was. And we didn't play that game. You know, regardless if it was WCW guys or WWE, if you fought one of us, you had to fight us all.
Yeah.
And my thing was, if we're going in that ring in ECW and beating the hell out of each other the way we were with garbage cans and crutches, the kitchen sink included.
Oh, yeah.
What makes you think that you got a chance with us in a club if you bumped into us, got into a fight with us? Because you can knock us down and feel like, you know, yes, I knocked them down, but we're like Jason and Freddy Krueger. We're gonna sit right up, look at you, and come right at you.
And that's why, D-Von, you could come back on anytime as our friend. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
I'm gonna keep this PG and say you're full of crap.
Just Matt, though.
Matt.
Yeah.
D-Von, all things aside, I appreciate you joining us here on Icons Revisited.
We appreciate you, D-Von.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
appreciate
man.
It.
Thank you so
Hope
much.
to see you soon on the bump.
A big thanks to the WWE Hall of Famer Devon Dudley for sharing his memories of Rob Van Dam. And before we get to the man of the hour himself, let's take a look at some highlights from the career of Rob Van Dam.
Innovative. Captivating. Revolutionary. He's Rob Van Dam.
There can only be one
Rob Van Dam, you know? Yeah.
Hailing from Battle Creek, Michigan, martial arts and wrestling provided a solid foundation for the breakout star.
He had that incredible athleticism coupled with that daredevil streak.
And when Van Dam burst into ECW,
I was like, wow, there's something to him.
It was his unmatched athleticism that immediately made him Philadelphia's favorite son.
And the fans appreciative of Van Dam's athletic prowess.
ECW or WWE, RVD was unquestionably the whole damn show.
Rob Van Dam was one of the hottest newcomers in the history of WWE.
The thumb-waving, laid-back high flyers, custom airbrushed attire also connected with the WWE universe.
I've always tried to stand out with my work. My outfits are a big part of it.
Not to mention,
He had a really good balance, good technique.
his inventive moveset was transcendent.
Because he was spectacular. Because he could do things that no one else in the business was doing.
Van Terminator!
But it was Rob Van Dam's picturesque 5-star frog splash that always drew the most rave reviews.
Nobody gets as high
My God, the hang time!
as RVD.
You never know what to expect from Rob Van Dam.
Perhaps RVD's most historic feat was unifying the Intercontinental, European, and Hardcore Championships. And RVD's meteoric rise hit its apex when he won the Money in the Bank ladder match at WrestleMania, setting the stage for one of the most emotionally charged evenings in sports entertainment history.
Welcome to ECW One Night Stand!
The night Rob Van Dam walked into the Hammerstein Ballroom, a superstar.
The greatest never to hold a world championship.
And left a legend.
We just witnessed history.
Rob Van Dam is a trailblazer and proved that individuality and an unorthodox nature doesn't make you different. It makes you...
Rob Van.
Well, we just saw so many highlights of a Hall of Fame career from Rob Van Dam, and we're going to share some of our favorite moments and matches. Ryan, what comes to mind for you?
I thought a lot about this, and there's a lot to pick from, obviously. RVD, though, versus Jerry Lynn, and we've talked about the rivalry at large, but those two first matches in '99, I was roughly 9 years old. I was just discovering ECW finally on a full-time basis after having seen it a little bit in the years prior. But I was still young, so, I was just getting into it. It was, as crazy as this may sound, as a kid, you just enjoy wrestling, right?
Yeah.
As a 9-year-old, though, and I already loved the business so much, it was one of the first times I was cognizant of, oh, those matches were great, right? And I had seen plenty of great matches already, and I enjoyed wrestling so much. But it was the first time where I think I was putting together, everything I've seen has been really fun. But this is really something different. And so RVD will always be one of those first guys where I can say, man, yeah, those matches really shaped me, not just as a wrestling fan, but I said, oh, this is what I'm going to kind of judge everything else I see for weeks and months and years going forward.
You know what I think about those matches?
Yeah.
And as I said earlier, RVD was the first guy I kind of really discovered and was my guy outside of WWE.
Yeah.
Though he was a word-of-mouth wrestler.
Yeah.
That was... Did you see that?
It was after magazine.
It was magazines. It was watching late night MSG here in the New Jersey, New York area. But you go, I gotta go see that. I gotta go find that. Now, to me, I come into the WWE side of things. What Rob Van Dam and John Cena did at One Night Stand in 2006, 15 years ago, to me encapsulates everything that I love about professional wrestling. Because it was John Cena coming into enemy territory, and people didn't like him. Now, he was beloved elsewhere, and we knew that. But at the Hammerstein Ballroom, it was a home game for Rob Van Dam. It's why he said, I'm cashing in my Money in the Bank contract at One Night Stand. And the crowd was behind him. And not often do you see a crowd get solely behind one person like that at the absolute pinnacle moment of their career. And from John Cena's entrance, the defiant entrance, he knew he was the enemy that night. And he leaned into that. And Rob, as cool as ever, knew it was his moment. And then that moment would end up happening. But not before the crowd was throwing the shirt back, and if Cena wins, we riot. It's everything you could possibly want. I remember ordering that pay-per-view and watching it in college. I still talk about it today, 15 years later, because it was everything perfect about what we love here in WWE.
It was atmosphere, right? And I think so much of RVD's career can be the atmosphere he created around himself. But that moment specifically, I think has stood the test of time. Not just because it was a great match, but I think when anybody thinks about winning a title, winning a match, winning any type of sporting event, you think of the crowd. I mean, it defines.
You know what that match
the crowd goes
that
wild.
was one of those. I wish I was in the crowd for that match.
And it's especially, and they talk about it in the doc, especially since there's only so many people there because it's an intimate setting.
It says that, right?
You can literally say that you were one of however many, just a few thousand people who experienced that moment live. Incredibly special. That's a great pick.
I'm sure we'll talk more about that with the man himself right now. It's the Hall of Famer and the subject of everything we're talking about, Rob Van Dam.
Yeah!
There it is.
Bam. What's up, guys?
Welcome in, Rob.
RVD, thank you for joining us here on Icons Revisited. First time we actually get to talk to the subject of the documentary, so thank you for being with us today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great subject. Great subject.
No arguments on this end of the desk. And Rob, we're so excited to dive in on all this. But just right off rip, you do such a lengthy interview for a project like this. You go through your entire career. Did anything hit your mind that you kind of hadn't revisited in a long time?
That happened. I was talking about walking out of WWE in 2007, I believe it was. Talking about how I felt like it was the right time to go. I needed a break. And when I said that, I had to actually stop you know, because the thought just became like so apparent in my head. And I was like, man, I'm seeing the circle here, you know, and realizing the pattern that I just told this same story about WCW in '93 that I'm talking about now in you know, and I was like, wow. And I was thinking, I mean, my first thought was, you know, is that a flaw? And I was thinking, and I said, you know, like, I guess, you know, I end up walking out of places, and then, you know, Peter, who was interviewing me, said, or is it just that you know when it's the right time to go? And I was like, ooh, I like that. But he was right. He was right, of course, though, you know. And that was one of the times where it was kind of like, wow, like I'm learning about myself here. I don't think I've ever gotten fired from any job in my life. I think it's always been me feeling like it was time to go.
And being one of a kind, certainly more than just a song lyric, as we know from your theme song here in WWE. But at any point during your career, did you feel like your style or your way of just going about things would influence others?
No, I don't think I could have known that. You know, that's pretty cool. As far as, you know, like a claim of impact on the industry, you know, I feel good about that, for better or worse, because way back 93, 94, 95, 96, during those years, formative years, wrestling in All Japan, Stan Hansen used to give me like so much gruff. I don't even think I've ever used that word before, but I wanted to substitute the word I usually use. But he gave me like so much crap because he thought that I was changing the business, you know? I mean, way back then, he was like, he was telling me, oh, I was doing backflips off the guardrails, you know, and like diving out, all kinds of crazy stuff. And he was insulted by it because he was so old school. And like, we would be talking in the dressing room, you know, about, you know, hey, you know, we're tagging again, you know, and he'd be like, oh, you know, he'd call me Claude. He'd say, let Claude do all his silly stuff. And then, you know, let's tag me back in and try and get some credibility back, you know, and he was always like that. And if I caught him off by his side, I could tell he was a little bitter because he was just like, you know, you guys doing all this stuff, you know, that's not, you know, but what do I know? I'm on my way out anyway. He was like that a lot of times. And of course I recognize that. So as I saw the business changing and felt partly responsible for it, I always think about Stan. I always think, was it for better or for worse? Because now, you know, when I watch guys, obviously I didn't train everybody, so they picked certain things that they liked, but then I can see a lot of fundamental issues that I would talk to them about if they were in the RVD school of wrestling, which there's not one, but I wasn't able to pass along the old school mindset that the original Sheik passed on to me. I didn't pass that on. They just taught the flips and kicks, and you know, and so, you know, if someone like Stan was to say you killed the business, I would probably, like, you know, bow my head in shame and say I'm sorry.
No, you didn't. You breathed plenty of life into it, which is why you have your own documentary.
I would disagree. Yeah, Matt hit it on the head. And actually, honestly,
we should have interviewed Stan. That would have been great to interview Stan Hansen for my documentary. Wonder if it's too late. I'm calling Peter immediately after.
Honestly, Rob, it's a perfect segue to what I wanted to bring up next, though, because in the documentary, Paul Heyman has this great quote that really caught my ear. Rob's flying wasn't pretty. It was violent. Now, I'd argue it was both, because I think You in the Air was a work of art, but I understand what Paulie was trying to get at. When it came, Rob, to things kind of you were just touching on, I'll be honest, I hadn't seen the Bam Bam Bigelow dives in quite a while, and but they took my breath away, and I've seen them 1,000 times before, especially the fact that you did both in one match. That second one is just insane, but both are. When it came to things like that, or against Balls Mahoney into the crowd at Anarchy Rules 99, how did you conceptualize, though, and was there any hesitation in your mind before doing that? Not because you're not incredibly skilled, but because the distance on those, again, is just insane.
Well, it was a challenge, you know. Back then, I liked to challenge myself and outdo myself all the time, and that was the nature of Extreme Championship Wrestling. You know, it was always, you know, do a flip over the top rope to the floor. Next week, I'm gonna clear a chair and the rope. Next week, I cleared 2 chairs and the rope, just flipping to the floor. And I was always trying to outdo myself. So I wanted to push myself, but obviously the risk factors were in my favor. I wasn't up there thinking, oh, I might make it, I might not. It's always been about visualizing it and having such a good mind-body relationship, which I get from stretching. When I stretch for an hour, it's not a warm-up, it's a workout. And it's really one of the first stages is developing and building the mind-body relationship, because I stretch and go through every muscle from different positions. I learn a lot about my muscles. My muscles learn to trust that I'm not going to hurt them if they let go and ease up, because they're going to contract to protect themselves from, it's very, very complicated. But what I'm saying is I've always been like, if I can do it up here, then I can do it, believe it and achieve it. Like I know when I'm visualizing, I know what it feels like. I'm actually visualizing what it feels like in my legs when I'm making that jump. It wasn't a dive out to 10 people that were just standing there waiting, to catch somebody. I mean, that was like during a match where I was like, first off, he's so far away that I hope my aim isn't off, and then, trusting the big guy like that, Bam Bam Bigelow. There's very few guys, Bam Bam, Balls Mahoney, and Bubba Dudley were the only guys that I felt that I could do that dive over the top rope into the crowd on, because they were really big, solid guys that I knew how how they were going to catch me, and nobody else.
I think that brings me to my next question, because at the Hall of Fame, Mr. McMahon says to you, quote, "So many people emulated you coming in." And I know we spoke earlier, you weren't thinking about influencing people, but when you hear that from someone like Vince McMahon, do you consider that the ultimate compliment, that he recognized that?
I do. The ultimate compliment that is tailor-made for me,
Right.
I mean, the ultimate compliment would be like, "Oh, you're the best wrestler I've ever seen," or something like that would be the ultimate, But for me, being the platypus that I am, and one of a kind, and not really fitting into any category, just knowing that, then sticking to my guns and wrestling my style and not really conforming, had that effect. Not only was I able to maneuver through my whole career with that, but also, hey, some people seem to like it. Some people picked up on it, and when you think about the changes from like when I got into now, one big change is the guys are all athletes now. Yeah, even if they're and a lot of the guys are 200 pounds or even under. But even the guys that are big now, I mean, they're still, they're athletes. I mean, and now those guys are doing my moves. So
it's evolution.
Yeah, and that's our nature. We have to evolve. So that's one way that it has. Even the big guys still stick with that style. I don't think we're going back to the days of Uncle Elmer.
We'll see if he gets an icon. We'll let you know about that one.
To be determined. Rob, I actually want to go back to the beginning of not just this Icons episode, but your journey, because we see some really cool footage of your kickboxing days at the beginning of this piece. And I'd never seen it before. It was really cool to see you in that atmosphere, and really just to see how much ass you kicked, just to be quite frank. As your career went on, whether it's in the prime of your career, in ECW and WWE, or maybe around that 2007 era or even later, MMA is on the rise, literally from the time you get into wrestling onward. Did you ever think about maybe transitioning back to kickboxing? Ever thought about maybe dabbling into MMA, anything in between?
I think that I've always felt the same way about it, which is if MMA was around when I was 18, there's no doubt in my mind I would have pursued that. I was really into testing myself, finding out who I am, comparing myself to other guys, in the tough guy level, and thing is, it wasn't around. People didn't even know what kickboxing was back then. They were calling it like a sport of the future. And I'd already been wrestling 3.5 years. I've done WCW, and I started All Japan at the beginning of '93. Really, if I would have had more time in my speech, I would have definitely liked to thank Shoshi Baba from All Japan, because that gave me my first real secure job in the business. Like I went from making $30 a match, to going overseas and making, a couple grand a week starting out. And that was just a huge difference, where I knew that things were going to work out there for me. But one point I want to bring up, so UFC comes out in '93,
right.
And when it first came out, it's like, let's see what happens if a boxer fights a judo guy, this taekwondo fights. And so MMA was not even around until there was several UFC, shows.
Right.
And then we learned what really does work, and doesn't work. And that became the combination, the hybrid, which is mixed martial arts. So that was, by that point, I'm already well on into my career. So I just remained a fan.
A few years after that, you're going to make some appearances in WWE on Monday Night Raw. Jerry Lawler's kind of talking there with you. You're kind of back and forth. You're still doing things with ECW, but you don't stay in WWE. You're not going to come back and stick around till 2001. But in '97, was there a chance, had there been talks of you being a permanent fixture in WWE?
Yeah, but I wasn't aware of them. Vince and the WWE universe had other plans, which I didn't find out about until the whole thing exploded at the end. And when it did, that's when the first time I even talked to Vince one-on-one was when things weren't working out based on what I was told, and expecting to happen, and how that clashed with his plans, because I wasn't aware of them. And Vince was like, well, of course I planned on you staying here. I wouldn't have put you on my TV if I didn't see you staying here. And he was talking about, I see you being a baby face, an aggressive baby face. But and I was just like, what? It blew my mind. I wasn't even prepared to hear that at the time.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that kind of circles back to what I said at the top, how you can kind of, re-unearth these things when you go through a project like this. But Rob, I will say, just from my perspective, this will lead into my question. The biggest thing I took away from watching this, which I already knew, but this just really fleshed it out, was your love for ECW and really how, and to hear Paul E speak on that, and Bubba and everyone across the board, Dreamer. That's what I took away. But I want to flip that to you. The WWE Universe are going to watch this. It's an amazing piece. People obviously were familiar with your career, but this is such a deep dive. So what do you hope that audiences ultimately take away from this Icons Rob Van Dam piece? What do they want? What do you want their lasting impression to be about you after watching it?
I take pride in being a bit of a pioneer, and I'm told so often by people that I'm their favorite wrestler, and I take it to heart, and I know that they mean that because I'm different. So, I feel like they appreciate the difference, and that's really what I want. I want people to be confirmed that I'm a real, genuine, quality dude with principles and morals. I stick to those. Athletically gifted, but it was all just a mindset approach. I wasn't even in sports in school. I just decided to be a wrestler that was doing moves that I would want to see. And so, I made that happen. So I hope that I can influence other people that non-conformity can be okay. If you got the right, develop the ability to make the right choices and decisions. You got to have that first and learn it. But then, just falling in line and being like everybody else doesn't work for all of us.
Well, Rob Van Dam, the WWE Hall of Famer, we are absolutely thrilled that we got to talk to you here today for Icons Revisited. Always a pleasure, and thank you again, sir.
Appreciate you, Rob.
Yeah, definitely. Appreciate you guys. Have an excellent day.
That will do it for Icons Revisited RVD. If you haven't checked out this Icons episode, go check it out right now, and all of the great WWE documentaries, of course, on Peacock in the U.S., and elsewhere on the WWE Network. Let's check out what's coming up next with Icons with Lex Luger.
Lex Luger was one of the biggest stars in wrestling.
He brought an attitude. Lex was a big, giant, muscle guy that looked like He-Man. His body was a temple.
Vince signed him for the World Bodybuilding Federation.
It was a can't miss deal. No telling what this guy could be.
They brought him in as the narcissist.
It's like, ooh, that might be kind of neat. And I think I can sink my teeth into being a narcissistic bad guy.
But Vince saw him as the next Hulk Hogan.
I don't know if I was ever going to be the guy, but who wouldn't want to be the guy?
He's the American superstar now.
Luger would slay it, the 550-pound champion. Lex Luger has done what no athlete could do.
They had that whole bus tour.
The Lex Express thing was a complete, utter flop.
It was like a curse. It ruined him.
It's easier to be a bad guy. Good guys with more responsibility.
It wasn't going to help, but get fatigued.
I didn't know whether he didn't connect with the people. He could be one of the guys, he couldn't be the guy.
Sometimes we don't realize what we had until it's gone.
The demise of Lex Luger started to happen and things started to go bad for him.
My life had become a total train wreck.
I was there the day that he went paralyzed.
Your heart breaks a little bit for somebody that you know and somebody that's a friend that had to go through what he went through. But on the other hand, he came out of it stronger than ever.
Our wrestling audience and how they relate to us, we're like family. You know, I'd messed up and made a lot of mistakes. They still showed me a lot of love.